hop music. It's real hip hop music. Come on, come on.
Yes, yes, 1 2 1 2. This is another episode of Major Journalism. I am your host, David Traum Shanks. Today, we have another interesting conversation, another organic conversation. Today, we're going to delve into the world of Web3, blockchain, crypto, NFTs, etc., etc. I'm joined by two esteemed brothers with expert knowledge, thought leaders in the space. First, I have one of my good brothers. Every episode, I tell y'all that I have one biological brother, but I have about a dozen or so brothers who are real brothers. This is probably one that sits at the top of that. This is longtime friend, brother, college roommate, business partner, many other things. Mr. Nnamdi Osuagwu, who's founder and CEO of Strategic Generation and also the host of the Tech Behind Fintech show, which is live every Friday on LinkedIn, YouTube, IG, I think maybe switch to. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. There you go, Facebook, all the above. And then I got a good brother that I just became an acquaintance of, brother Manny, who's the co-founder of Mtllsm and also the co-host of Keep It Crypto podcast. So brother Manny, brother Nnamdi, what's good? Welcome to Major Journalism. Thanks for indulging me in this conversation today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. So for context, I was watching an episode of my brother's show, Tech Behind Fintech, maybe 3 or so Fridays ago. And brother Manny was a guest on that show. And the conversation about crypto and blockchain really intrigued me. I try to catch as many of my brother Nnamdi's shows as possible. But to be quite honest, as someone who's not in the tech space, most of those conversations go way over my head. And so this particular Friday, I was intrigued by brother Manny's approach and just his way of articulating what was going on. And I said, no, this is somebody I could talk to for the purposes of my audience and to bring some of this information that's really high level from a tech and finance point of view to my audience. So I reached out via, I think they were on the IG Live post show, and I just sent a little kite in the comments like, yo, I need y'all on the show. So that's just to bring context to it. So, I mean, let's get started. I guess I want to begin with blockchain itself and just Web3 from a high level space. I know the conversations around NFTs and cryptos in general, in our culture especially, is very like ramping up now. Everybody's NFTs and crypto. And a lot of the conversation is from like a kind of like a hustle standpoint. Like, yo, you could come up this NFT, this crypto, jump in this crypto, you can make some bread. But I think a mistake that our culture makes a lot is, we jump in on things from a hustler or from a consumer end. It's very low level. It's very like, I'm gonna cop the Jordans, and then I can cop the Jordans and go on the aftermarket, and then I can make a come up on the Jordans after I cop the Jordans for one price. And to me, it's like, well, we never talk about owning StockX, you know what I'm saying? Or creating our own eBay or things like that. So I want to start with the technology behind the crypto and behind the NFT, and just get into what is blockchain, what is Web3, how does Web3 different from Web 2.0 or the World Wide Web, what we currently know to be the web, and just start there. So whoever wants to take that, Manny seems like he's ready to go. So
I'm taking notes because the question's mad layered. I just want to make sure I'm ready to jump in. That's all, man.
For sure.
I think on the conversation tip, like when you talk about blockchain, we'll defer to Manny's expertise because he's like currently has his hands on the pulse and he's on the scene of that. For conversational purposes, I'll interject and just jump in and translate. You know, if I see something that, cause I think you're doing I love your approach, by the way. I want to say that because I think people jump ahead of, like, let's talk about NFT, let's talk about this. But I think it's a lack of understanding of the foundational stuff. So I think that's a really good approach to have Manny really go into answer the question, what is blockchain? And let's really dive into that because then it makes the more complicated stuff a little bit easier to understand.
For sure. Your purpose, that's exactly why I have you here, Nnamdi, to take my low level and frame it.
But I think you framed it, you had an excellent frame up, like let's start there. You didn't jump into let's talk about NFTs. Let's start at blockchain. So that's excellent.
Well, I mean, and me and Manny briefly spoke about this when we chatted a couple days ago. I'm always coming from a framework. We went to Temple, so we know the great Sonia Sanchez. She would say, "How does it free us?" So I'm always trying to figure out with anything, how do it free us? And so the conversations that I've been hearing around NFTs, I'm not seeing like, okay, well, where's the road to like ownership, or you know what I mean? Like, how do we? So I'm interested in the top level stuff, the technology behind it, and how we can interject ourselves into that, as opposed to just making other people rich and giving them $1 billion evaluations on their products and their software.
Yeah, so that's crazy that you ended asking your question like that, because that's the number one reason why blockchain was created, right? We don't know the creator, you know what I'm saying? We don't know the guy's name, right? And the thing is, his principle was, if there was a way that everyone could see what people were doing with one currency, like no matter who you were, you wouldn't have to log in. You can't be manipulated. You could just see, okay, I gave $1 to David. You know what I'm saying? I gave $1 to Nnamdi. You know what I'm saying? And they took 50 cent and gave it to somebody else, right? And that's on a way that anyone could see it. That would stop what happened in the 2008 crash. So think about the timing. The 2008 crash, people were really manipulating the mortgage markets, right? They made the markets crash right before Obama came into office. The government bailed them out, right? And that problem, that liquidation event, caused a whole lot of companies to fold and the government to interject, which never happened before. The government got into the traditional markets and started supporting it, right? So there was a need to say, "Damn, man, you can't let this stuff go on." So there was a few people. I mean, of course, there's one person that they attribute to it. I forgot his name right now. That's crazy. But either way, we don't know who made it. His intent was to make sure that this money does not keep on feeding the capitalist society that is currently controlling money all over the world. It's 11 central banks. They run everything, and everybody knows it, right? It's certain. If you're getting a forex and you start to understand currencies, you understand that these are just representations of a government entity within a government, but really it's a bank. Those banks and those governments have been interfering with people to have an even chance to get wealth, right? Because they don't have to tell you what happened, right? They don't have to tell you when they give somebody a lot of money, right? You might hear about it, most of the time you don't, and there's no proof it ever happened. The blockchain says, no, this will always be proof that you did this XYZ. Your wallet transferred this to that person's wallet. So technology to support that was already there, because what you're talking about is just long as spreadsheets of numbers. And computers have been able to do something like that, right? So blockchain is leveraging the chance that you can have a whole long ass list of those transactions to live for infinity, because it's just text encrypted in a fashion that when you mathematically change it, that the computations have to match in order for you to add to it. Called a ledger, right?
Okay, I was
And
going to
that
ask if
ledger
it's a
is
ledger.
distributed amongst anybody that wants to look at it. It cannot be changed. It's immutable, right? So that right there in itself, transparency, and you can't have no funging around where someone wants to pull a whole lot of dollars out the market and make the price of the dollar go up. That's not happening no more. That can't happen with a cryptocurrency. Now, other things can happen with it, right? I'm not saying they can't happen with it, but the birth of cryptocurrency, the birth of blockchain, was to have a way that people can have transactions that are transparent, and anybody that's participating doesn't have to question the integrity of the data on it. And that's what blockchain was made to be.
So I hear a lot in relation to blockchain and crypto decentralization. So is that
Mhm.
what you just described?
No, so decentralization is based off how the blockchain is architected. And mainly I say that because the blockchain's native token or tokens are all going to have utility in most cases in which you're talking about centralization versus decentralization. And that function is what you call governance, a voting system. Most blockchains have a voting system. Now, you say something is centralized because if at the beginning of the blockchain's existence, that the main people that started the blockchain hold most of the tokens, therefore all their votes are going to outweigh no matter who is out there holding tokens, then that's a centralized entity. So their governance is going to be with the control group of people that choose to make plans and make moves, and no one else has a say so whatsoever. Similar to what we're talking about in regular everyday politics and governments, right? And decentralization is when they start the program, or the blockchain, they may have had a distribution of some of the tokens to some of the owners, but there's a chance that other people can own more than what they have, right? And therefore, the number of validators, the number of nodes of people participating in the blockchain is spread out and getting their own even shares. It's more decentralized, right? So it's a concept of how the governance structure is made in that specific ecosystem for that blockchain.
Just to piggyback on what Manny said, I think to help people understand it, just another layer to identify with something you already use, right? You use a bank. Everybody, most people, in today's day and age, have a bank account. If you work, most likely you have a bank. So when you look at a bank, right, even a bank has a ledger in the sense of what you deposited, your withdrawals, and so forth. You know, not to overcomplicate it, that gets into the core banking system, but let's just say a bank has this ledger. Now, when you think centralization, only that bank has that information on you. That bank is not sharing it with other parties. It might share it with some third parties, but that's more so to enhance their services. But if you go to Bank of America, for instance, Bank of America has your information. They have all your transactions, and so when we talk about centralized, that is central. Now, when you talk about decentralization, right, to what Manny said, what if you take something like that's not Bank of America, but in this blockchain space, right? Everyone who wants it can get a copy of that ledger. It's distributed out, right? And then you can get into the mining aspect and the validators and so forth, but it's literally distributed throughout. So that's the decentralization part. So whoever
Well,
wants
it's
it,
no, no,
please
no.
jump in.
So if you have a centralized product, like say you could look at the ledger for any crypto block. I mean, it's still blockchain, right? It's still transparent. You don't have the voting capacity to change what happens on the governance side to make it centralized. So the properties of being able to see the ledger, anybody can see that. There's a project called VeChain that aims at the supply chain, right? It's one of the best projects, has one of the best use cases you could ever imagine, right? Blockchain security on the supply chain is needed, but it's centralized AF. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, though, you can look at every transaction in VeChain right now. They can't
So
hide that stuff. It's just the centralization is the governance part that makes it what they call centralized.
so from a I guess the distinction that you're making, Nnamdi, if I understand this, is like, okay, I I draw, $40 comes out of my account every month for my coconut water case. I get a case of coconut water every 30 days. Only TD Bank has that information. But if I'm doing
Mhm.
that with crypto, then everyone can see
Now
that
that's where
I,
right,
every
right, right.
30 days
That's what.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
making that
yeah.
purchase.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Now, Andy does have a point with that part. Yes, absolutely,
The only reason I brought
absolutely.
that point up, I mean, like I said, I think there's different layers Manny could go into in terms of, how are chains added to the blockchain, who are the validators, the nodes, those types of concepts, are because that all's around decentralization. But I just want for people who don't understand the concept of centralization versus decentralization, I just want to paint the picture that when you talk about centralization, think about your bank, right?
Right.
There are projects now where different banks are communicating with each other, right? There are some closed network private blockchain projects like that, but let's not go there. Let's just say if we're just talking about an individual bank, they have and control your data. They're not sharing that information, so that's central.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the antithesis to that is decentralization. We talk about blockchain, and then Manny can get into different use cases, but I just want to bring that home so the audience can understand the
No.
what that is.
I like that. I think that makes perfect sense. So
Mm-hmm.
because these terms are thrown out,
100%.
and I think that sometimes we have a habit of like wanting to sound intelligent, and so we use these terms, but I don't know that all of us always know what's behind these terms. So I'm Malcolm X said, make it plain. So I try to make it as plain as possible. So, you know what I mean? If a third grader can understand it, then we're doing the right job.
And bro, I'm not gonna even hold you, man. Like, I'm from a professional level, just hitting so many aspects of technology. I even forget this stuff sometimes. I have to revisit it, refresh and stuff. And like,
Absolutely.
because if you're working for one client or for a certain functions, let's just say hypothetically you're doing security stuff, then I'm all in there. But then if you're switching gears back on blockchain research, then it's like, oh, you have to relearn unless you're doing it constantly. So what helps me to just, I try to relate it to things that are common, like you said, like banking and just things you do every day, and just try to make that connection. It helps me to let it stick in my head, so I could also explain it.
Okay. So I mean, we're talking about blockchain mainly from a finance situation, right? And it's okay for us to stay there. I'm sure that we can apply blockchain to a myriad of other things that maybe it even hasn't been applied to yet.
I would make an argument, right? Yes, we are talking about finance, and but I think it's also important. And Manny touched on it with a project called VChain. I think it's important that people understand that it spans different use cases. There are utility use cases, because
what
happens.
Let's out.
Look,
That's what I want to do.
This segues to your next question, right? You guys don't even realize, maybe you do realize, this segues to the other question you had within your question, right? When you were saying Web 2 versus Web 3, right? So real quick, when people say Web 3, they just think that for some reason it's just crypto. Has nothing to do with crypto.
And that's what I want to debunk. That's what I want to debunk.
So basically, the first generation of the internet was really an experiment with really just sending messages, right? So you're sending text. So the only thing you really can do to interact with other people, if you want to talk about the human element of the internet, right? All we could do was send text, which is huge. So you have forums, you have message boards and stuff like that. And then as space became bigger, I see Nnamdi smiling. You know how to remember these days, but when you didn't have a lot of big providers out there, but there were certain areas in the internet where you could store like mad data. So people started sharing data, right? So then they started sharing files like music and audio and shit like that, right? And really, so file sharing, information sharing, and message boards, that's, I'm not gonna say it, but definitely that, you know what I'm saying? But so this is days when you had GeoCities and you had the Angel Fire portal. This is back when America Online, like that's all Web 1, because all you're talking about is exchanging text and information. That's Web 1. Web 2 became about when you're talking about the MySpace era. Because what happened in the MySpace era, the communications amongst people started becoming a lot more frequent, to the point in which there was opportunity for commerce to be introduced, right? So Web 2 introduced commerce and social media, right? So Web 2 was integrating financial systems. Now Visa, MasterCard, your bank, anybody can do all these applications. All this stuff is all about incorporating finance. So phase 2, in short, Web 2 was finance, right? It's other things too.
Digital money and commerce kind of
has already
ushered
happened
in with Web 2, right?
Because Web 2, you're already tokenizing money, That's the thing that people don't understand, right? They say, "Oh, I can't touch crypto. I can't feel that." You don't feel the money in your checking account when you swipe your debit card. Best believe it comes and goes, though, right? And the thing is, you're able to understand the concept of tokenized money that way. Then you've been doing it since since we all had debit cards, and then the internet started allowing you to transact money, and that is pretty much what the phase of the evolution of Web 2 really was. There's other things too, but just keep it straightforward. That's that. Now, Web 3 is the incorporation of blockchain technology over the web. Because what you're talking about here with Web 2 was an enhancement of all the native, protocols and regular information technology, right? So regular network equipment, stuff like that, right? You had different ways of transmitting information, but not like crypto where you have different protocols. That's going to change the way technology is shifted. So it's going to use the internet to connect to blockchain networks, and that's Web3.
Okay, so it's using the internet still to connect to blockchain networks. It's not like a new internet.
I'm not going to say that. It actually is. And well, see, the dark net is a different internet.
Gotcha.
Right? So
Okay.
You're talking about the internet where you're using the WAN connections to all these big, internet service providers like Verizon and Cox and all these other, joints out here. You're using their backbone to transmit on a protocol that these web servers cannot understand. These operating systems have no clue. These blockchains have different networks within these WAN connections. So it really is a different internet.
You're just using kind of the highways.
So that's the thing, right? It's still dependent on the grid. You still need electricity. Right. You're still going to go through, your information can't be seen. Of course, if people make it seem like you just hide, you can't hide, man. You're just not being looked for.
I want to add, Manny, you could jump into this. I mean, when you start looking at Web3, you start looking at like the plugins on your browser are being taken to the next level. Like if you have, would you agree with this, man? Like you have like a MetaMask, and that's just what you would describe like a wallet on your browser. It's just, as Manny mentioned, right? It's not a whole new internet. You're still using your browser in the case, but there's just a lot more richer functionality that's added in. And
Absolutely.
Because it's connected, because you can leverage the blockchain technology within your browser now. So,
right, so he said that perfectly for sure. Yeah, so it could be way faster because you're not worried about internet protocols. Think about it. If you're using MetaMask, like he just mentioned, right? And I buy Ethereum with MetaMask, that shit's not going on the same internet that people watching Netflix on. It's not going through a web protocol. That's not the traffic that it's dealing with. It's dealing with the other blockchain transactions. That's why some blockchains are faster than others, because they saw the problem of scalability early. Unfortunately, Ethereum was able to be built to have smart contracts, so you can do a lot of transactions in a lot of ways in Ethereum, but they didn't realize that people can do this a lot faster, right? Which is a whole other part of the conversation. But you're not going through regular internet traffic, to Nnamdi's point. When you put that web browser on and you have a MetaMask wallet or some other crypto transaction wallet or a capability on their browser, it's not just using the internet. It's actually doing other things.
And you just brought up a new term that they may not be familiar with, the concept of smart contracts. And I think that's a whole part when you start talking about Web3 and certain functionality to leverage and autonomous organizations. So can you describe what a smart contract is, Manny?
Yeah, so basically, so you look at blockchain as an application like code, right? So you notice, like, you play a video game, right? And you're playing a video game, and that game says when someone places a button, this character is going to do X, right? When this person's in this scenario, then they hit that button, it's going to do something different, right? The code is going to change based off the scenario and the position of the character, right?
Right.
So you could program, different codes to do things based off of what is being told from the interface, right? So if I'm a user and I'm using it to interface between applications, the input of the application could be different based off of what I'm doing, right? So a smart contract is made to act a certain way for a certain period of time. That's what a smart contract really is. It's a deviation from the regular code. The regular code is going to be the back end of where it captures what happened on the blockchain, like I mentioned earlier. but it could be a function that deviates from the typical buy and sell functionality. So it's an enhanced functionality of code that expires at a certain amount of time.
So what would be a practical use of that?
So, right, if you're looking at like right now, there's a lot of projects that you can stake, right? And I'll say staking is a way to receive residual income by putting your money in somewhat of a savings account, right? Contributing to the liquidity of a blockchain. A smart contract will say, you know what? For every one token you give me for the whole year, I'm going to give you 5 back. So now you have 5% APR, right? APY given back to you. So so of course, you're going to think, okay, I can't do this forever. No, you can't do it forever. So there's a smart contract that says as soon as Traum deposits his 100 or whatever this coin is, right? He's going to get 500 back, and he's going to get it for this next year. So on the 367th or 66th day, that smart contracts expire. You're probably going to have to withdraw and then deposit again. That's one example.
Okay, so and this is a little bit of a jump because we haven't got into it yet, but for my understanding, then okay, so if I say I give a real practical use, right? So working on, say, an NFT for the 10th anniversary of my single that I dropped 10 years ago. Is a smart contract then, or an example of a smart contract, like if I sell this whatever for 10 Ethereums and you resell, I'm getting 5% royalty on that resale. Is that something I would put in a smart contract?
So if I unfortunately I didn't type out everything you said, but pretty much out of that scenario, that is probably about 7 to 8 smart contracts, right? So you're talking about the bidding process. You set it to be 10 Ethereum. What was it before that? Whatever was it before that, right? All those are changed into the smart contract. Gotcha. Then the execution of the smart contract, when you put it up for sale and someone actually brought it, and then it's going to automatically say, okay, for every transaction from now on, it's going to hit Traum's wallet. Right? That's another change in the contract. Like I said, based on the behavior of what's going on in the blockchain, right?
And so now, all of this is placed in the ledger on the blockchain?
Yes.
Am I understanding the
NFTs,
order?
Right. So the NFTs are built on a certain blockchain. So if it's an Ethereum one, then it'll be on the Ethereum blockchain. If it's a Solana one, it'll be on the Solana blockchain, and so forth.
I'd like to just add in something. Let's take it a real, because I actually have to write this. When you're creating an NFT, it's actually a smart contract behind the scenes. They're not in addition to the functionality you just mentioned. That's additional logic behind it. But to actually tokenize and create the NFT is a smart contract. Now you have sites like OpenSea that you as a user don't have to worry about. But any one of us can literally go in and write the code to create an NFT. Now, creating the structure around the different nuances of, if a reseller gets this and that, that's logic in the code, but the basic of it is a smart contract.
That's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah. So you mentioned
what the flash behind the thing is a smart contract that's placed on the blockchain, essentially.
So you got to take the code of the blockchain, right, and have it. You're minting, right? So that mint process does create essentially the representation of the token, right? So that token is going to be tied to smart contracts. Your token is whatever you own. So if it's a picture, if it's a vehicle outside your house and is represented with a digital title, it doesn't matter, right? The NFT is just something that cannot be changed code-wise. It's non-fungible, right? Gotcha. The value cannot be manipulated unless the owner says it can be. So the owner has to place a contract out, a bid process on the blockchain to set the value of it, right? The code of it, like the non-fungible token, literally means it can never be changed, right?
Right.
So it can, it's always going to have the same numbers and letters that it does when you first create that, and it's not going to be able to be manipulated no matter what happens. But the changes that happen on the blockchain relating to it is going to be on the native blockchain itself.
And that's created through a smart contract. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
So, you mentioned before, like, practical use cases for a smart contract. So you can leverage anything that doesn't require, man, you know, you can use it for things that automation. So anything that doesn't
Mhm.
require, you know what, I have to physically do something, like physically move someone. So if you think about a smart contract, let's just think about a legal contract, right? A basic legal contract. It has to be some sort of monetary something involved, right? Something that you said, I'm gonna have a contract with Traum, with David. And I'm gonna say, you know what? I need you to do X. And you're gonna say, in return, I'm gonna do Y. So when we just think about it from that basic standpoint, we are
Mhm.
now just adding code to that process.
So
So
that's a contract. We code it and we place it on the blockchain, and that makes
and
it a
for it to
smart
be
contract.
effective, on the blockchain, it has to be something that it can now happen. So now it's not, the use cases right now are not for every single scenario, but for scenarios that, let's say now there's a bank account. We connect.
Mhm.
I'm throwing out just hypothetical examples. Well, it won't be a bank account, but it'll be something that's a wallet on the blockchain that
Mhm.
um that yeah, you have a wallet, because everybody has crypto. You have a wallet. Now that contract hypothetically connects to that wallet. That contract now can use something, they call it an oracle. An oracle is something in the real world that basically your code now can plug into to see if something's happening. So let's say that hypothetically, you're a farmer, right? And you want to get an insurance on your farm. You want to say, you know what? If it rains if it rains for 30 days straight, I need you to kick me a premium because I just lost my crops or whatever. Hypothetically, just throwing it out there. And you're the insurance company. You say, you know what? If it doesn't, I need to just get that premium on a month. Like it's not, an event hasn't happened. That scenario, if you think about it, we can automate it and we don't even need to interact anymore. So we code it. The contract is hooked up to the insurance wallet. It's hooked up to me, the farmer's wallet. Then every month I'm going to send my premium payments automatically. The contract will just pull it out, and it can go on for, we're going to, let's say it's a 2-year insurance contract. It's going on and on. Now the contract can connect to an external entity called an oracle. Let's just say it's something that we agree on, that this is the weather report that me and you both agreed on previously. Say, you know what, if this is accurate. Now let's say that an event happens at so it's connecting. So for 30 days it rains straight. Wow. I need to get paid now. So then I can get now whatever we agreed on will be the price that, this event happened. Wait, 30 days, my crop is messed up. I can't yield. So this is a hypothetical scenario, but it's something that I want you to think about, or the audience to think about, and saying scenarios that basically can be automated where it doesn't require our interaction. Like it just requires, we agree on certain terms, we code it, and we could hook up wallets to it. Then that's the
Mhm.
perfect scenario. Some people have scenarios for Airbnb and smart contracts. I was hearing is various use cases, but the goal is, because you said earlier, how do we move from being consumers versus creators? And the
Mm.
key to being a creator is not necessarily, oh, I'm going to go build a smart contract. It's sometimes, listen, does this scenario exist? Does this use case exist? Like, I have this problem that I want to solve, right? You can always find a Manny or find someone who can help you build something, but you want to start thinking about, from a non-technologist perspective, what is the scenario? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? And based on my understanding of this technology, my high level understanding, got to know the details. Wow, I think we can solve it. But it always starts with some sort of problem, some sort of, and then you start doing the research to see, oh, you know what, with where we're at now with the current technology, blockchain, whatever, can I apply it? But I think, to your point earlier, we sometimes jump on and just say, you know what, this is the latest trend, this is hot, this was going on. But it's just like, what are you trying to solve with that? Like, what are you actually trying to solve besides get paid? Like, you see what I'm saying?
So, and walk me through this, because as you're, speaking, I'm thinking of something that is in real time, right? So I was in a group with some brothers, right? Mostly fellow artists. And the conversation came up around like, trying to pool our resources together and bust a move. And so, the excitement was, all right, pool our bread together, put it in a bank, put it in a black-owned bank, and then we vote on like what we're gonna do. We're gonna build this thing. We're talking about building like maybe a music site where everyone can kind of push their product and push their art out. And so the first question was, as soon as we got to pooling money together, well, whose bank account? Then it was, well, we all need access to the bank account. And then, you know what I mean? It was, well, what happens if I'm putting my money up and then someone decides they want to withdraw money and buy a pair of sneakers, or, and on and on and on and on and on and on. Explain how the blockchain, smart contracts, the ledger, the whole Web3 technology can facilitate a group of individuals coming together to pool resources and, I guess, have equal vote on what could be done from a project standpoint with resources raised.
Manny, that sounds like he's trying to. You got to send him some billable hours right there. That sounds like sounds like a project, bro. I don't know, man. That sounds like you want me to start putting my consultant hat on.
Well, because
hold on. Before we add on to it, that question is deep, and I'm gonna tell you something, right? Because I'm collaborating with people right now, right? A couple of brothers of mine, you know what I'm saying? People someone I've known for a very long time. And people, I trust and love, man. We have a group. We're trying to put together a platform. We're trying to create a software, right? I'm gonna tell you this, man. Crypto has not made human communication easier. People have not made any progress significantly evolution-wise. People are just as lazy as they were before crypto. It's hard to talk people into staying in in the trenches and coming up with something together, right? The difficulty level has not changed. Crypto is just a means to do it. At the end of the day, 90% planning is the best way to do anything, right? You're gonna sit there with a bunch of people and y'all want to create efficiently a plan together to do a bunch of stuff. That has not changed because crypto's around. Crypto's a means to invest in and have a chance at making more wealth than it is risking to putting your chances out there and trying to build a cryptocurrency, right? So it's
I guess
different.
My question was
go ahead.
Based on Nnamdi, and not to cut your wisdom, but
oh no, okay, go ahead.
Based on what Nnamdi said about, well, both of you guys said about the blockchain and automating. So if the process if trust is a barrier, then what I'm hearing from what Nnamdi's saying is the automation and the I'm missing the word, but the what is it when you're exposed? But the transparency of blockchain and smart contracts should be able to eliminate some of that mistrust, because we can all see what's happening.
No, so what Nnamdi's talking about makes the technology is there, right? And 100% on that. But your question was, how can it make it easier for us to get in the game and make some money off of it?
Well, no. My question was about the trust, because if you're saying, hey, I don't trust that if I give you my money.
Oh no! So see, you gotta think about it, man. So many things that people misunderstand about this crypto space when it comes to starting a project, right? We start a project, in most cases, either you're gonna raise money or you're gonna put your own money into it like any other business. Like literally everything's gonna be like a regular business up until you're talking about building an application. If you're just trying to have a foundation for building an application in crypto, right? You still want to raise venture capital money. You want people to contribute. You don't put your own money up. The thing is, when people are trying to get $5 from their whole community, I mean, think about it, man. Those are the kind of issues where it doesn't matter if it's crypto or not. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Go ahead now, man.
So I think I get it, right? Your question is not necessary. It's kind of take a step back. Your question more so is, here is my use case. How do I leverage this technology to solve my problem? Your business case, I'm going to reiterate it, just to make sure I understand it, is we have a group of individuals, right? Let's say 5 or more, and we want to all put money towards a certain venture. We want to have the money in a central way that, you know, the group in its entirety can leverage it towards the quest for this venture. One of the scenarios that we have is, what if an individual
with checks and balances,
with checks and balance? What if an individual now decides to go in and take some of the group's money and then
I said, you're talking about using the blockchain to make sure that doesn't happen again? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Eliminating the mistrust or the prescribed mistrust. Because if someone's saying, I don't trust that someone wouldn't be able to.
Exactly. So I'm gonna let you go on in terms of the details of the blockchain, Manny. But before that, and this is what I say about all technology. And let's separate the business from the technology. That's an actual business use case you have. And I would say, what's the simplest solution for that? To me, it sounds like you want to incorporate or form some sort of LLC around your group. You want to then open up some sort of bank account. Like, let's say outside of the blockchain, you want to put rules with that bank account that, you know what, funds cannot be deposited without these signers signing off on it. Then, I mean, just from the picture that you painted, right, that problem is solved, in my opinion, right? Like, because it's certain bank accounts that, you know, you can't deposit, you can't do stuff without a password. You put rules around that, or find a bank that can work. Now, this because the initial problem is this. The initial business case is, we have a group of individuals that we're forming some sort of entity, and we want to basically could deposit funds towards the pursuit of projects within that entity. And we want to make sure that any individual in that group cannot withdraw funds and run off with it. That's what you're trying to solve. Is that accurate?
Well, that was a short, brief scenario that we were trying to solve, and I was asking how blockchain could be leveraged. I mean, it could get into a deeper thing that maybe we don't all want to be on the books with a bank account, but I don't want to get into all that. So I'm just asking.
When I hear people, I got to put my consultant hat on.
I feel you.
Automatically, it says, okay, what's the business case? What are the concerns? What are we trying to solve? And I could only base it off what you told me, not additional stuff that I haven't heard yet. Then from there, I look at it like, okay, what are the different resources that are out there that we can solve this use case? And I before I start getting super complicated and adding on, and this is just how I operate, I'm like, okay, can we do this track? Somebody might go, you know what, that it solves it. But then when you start coming with other issues, then you might go, this might not fit that scenario. So now we have to take a step back. Okay, what can we leverage? Can we leverage a combination of both? Can we leverage, you know, X, Y, and Z? And that's how I solve problems. But now if you're looking for, you know, because I think one of the issues that I have with just in general is when people have a problem and then they say, you know what, I want to solve it in this way with this technology. And it's always like, then you kind of like lose track of, are you trying to solve the problem, or are you just trying to leverage this technology? You got to pick.
Biased, right?
Because if you're trying to solve a problem, then everything is on the board to how we solve it. If you're saying, you know, I really just want to use blockchain to do this, then it's not about the problem anymore. It's about leveraging blockchain. So
Well, only because the show is about blockchain, so I'm just asking how blockchain. The show's not about solving that problem, but I feel you. But I'm just saying. I was saying I was just trying to take a scenario that from a real thing that was a conversation based on this mistrust, and I was saying based on what you were saying to me about the automation of the checks and balances in blockchain, would that be a scenario where I could leverage blockchain to solve that problem? Not can that problem be solved? Because I understand we could all just put our names on a bank account.
If you're talking about, like, say, you know what, me, you, the three of us, right?
Yeah.
Right. We're sitting there and say, you know what, we're gonna start a project, man, and we're gonna put money into this wallet. We're gonna come up with some agreement, right? It might be a wallet that's made of 3 wallets, right? Those hexadecimal, that it's a long hexadecimal number, right? That represent your wallet on the blockchain. We can monitor that. You can set up alerts for that wallet, right? There's a lot of things you can do to even access that wallet. And of course, it's going to be a hardware wallet associated with that. How you guys handle that? Do you need a 2-key safe, right? I mean, it's so many ways you can handle that with blockchain, where you can say, you know what, even though I can't stop you from stealing the money, if y'all collaborate against me, I'll have proof of where y'all went with it. And the thing is, there's a whole slew of people that would love to hear about a case of somebody stealing something in crypto, because people don't get away in crypto. They always find you. So it does solve the problem, but you have to also have the agreements. You do have to solve certain problems, though. Back to Nnamdi's point, like you are going to have to come up with some of the human element, because ultimately the custody of it, the most secure thing about crypto is you can take it off the blockchain. You could put it somewhere. That's the safest way to do it. But that protocol has to be a human element. How are we all going to work together? You know, and a lot of these things that people misunderstand is, yes, you can make a lot of money building a project and doing all that, but you know, when you work in technology, or you hear about what it takes to work in technology, that's a whole set of disciplined skills that may not pan out for you. You might have the best product ever. There's some great cryptocurrency projects that failed in the last couple of months, and they had sound math. They were making billions of dollars. So the thing is, you have to remember that, you know, putting your money in a project and putting all the resources to build something versus investing in it and having the risk being more managed is something you may want to consider if you want to talk about making money in crypto.
And it's a hard back. I don't know. I don't think, from what David's saying, he's interested in making money. He was just saying, how can he leverage it to solve his problem? Mm-hmm. And that's like, am I accurate with that?
Well, in that scenario, you know what I'm saying? In that scenario, based off of what you were saying in terms of automating the I don't want to say the transaction, but being able to automate that, so it's not like that part of the human error. Like, well, if we can all go in and see what's.
You see, I mean, even if you look at that use case that you put, if you automate it, I mean, what exactly are we automating? Here's why I say that.
So maybe that's a bad use case. So I don't want to spend 20 minutes. I don't want to spend 20 minutes on that use case because I only got y'all for a certain amount of time. So that could have just been a bad use case. Let's move on. What's a DAO?
A decentralized autonomous organization.
Okay.
So basically, the governance system that I mentioned earlier, when people vote on what happens on a blockchain, the protocols that handle that and the organizations that manage that are going to be a certain percentage of token holders, right? So it depends on the blockchain. They can say, you know, the top 40 token holders, 40% of token holders are going to be the DAO, right? So the DAO is just making sure that there's liquidity to support all the smart contracts that go through the proposals on a blockchain. So that's what a DAO is.
Okay.
It's piggyback on what Manny said. So what he just said: smart contracts, automation, organization. So essentially an organization made up of many smart contracts that basically, to the middle word, autonomous. It functions without a human interaction. Think about if your favorite corporation was just a program and it just runs. If it needs something to get done, it's all managed through a smart contract that was already predetermined. So
Yeah.
you could have a DAO hypothetically for, and Manny, jump in with me if I get. You could have a DAO for a vending machine, right? This
Sure.
DAO manages a vending machine. So what does that even mean? Okay, electronically, back to the Oracle, meaning that something has to be messaged back. The vending machine is empty. Automatically, it sends out to some firm that replenishes it. A human being is no longer involved with the management of that organization. Their only function is to get signals when the vending machine is low or needs maintenance. It automatically has a bunch of preferred vendors that it sends out requests to fix something. They, once the signals come back, and this is a hypothetical situation, obviously, but once the signal come back that is fixed, it pays them the money through the blockchain. But what happens is that organization is all managed through smart contracts.
So then an example of certain coin holders voting in that DAO would be who to use as the vendors or what to put in the vending machine.
So that's a good
Perfect.
point. So check this out. So what makes it autonomous, like I said, it's about liquidity, making sure there's enough support in the token supply to do whatever it needs to do, right? So it's certain reservations, mathematically, but anybody can raise a proposal. In most blockchains, if you own one token, you own less, you own 0.001 of a token. You can go and raise a proposal and say, I want the blockchain to do this, X, Y, Z. Now, the thing is, you have to realize people like to down crypto because they don't understand it. But mind you, when I tell you there are so many communities and people that take this stuff so like live and die by this stuff, you're not going to be at those regular punk ass proposal out there. It has to make sense. It has to be thoroughly backed because people take this stuff real serious. But anybody can raise a proposal on most blockchains, and
Man,
anybody can vote on those. Yeah.
Can you just explain to them? 'Cause I get what you're saying with the proposal and how that can change the function of the DAO, but can you explain what that proposal whole concept actually means in reference to a DAO? What's
Right.
a proposal?
Right. So basically, if you're saying, you know what, I think the blockchain could be improved by, creating more widgets when something happens, right? Or whatever the case may be. I want to create more internet links on my IG based off of, who wins the game tonight. You can do stuff like that. Literally, it doesn't matter, right? The use case as far as what motivates me to have a proposal could be something good or bad, doesn't matter. Right? Now, the thing is, put before the whole format, depending on the governance of the blockchain, right? They may have a certain presentation layer. Say, we have to pass a certain amount of votes here, certain amount of votes there. If it takes a certain amount of votes to execute a proposal, the DAO is going to be the one that determines that through voting, right? So they're going to say, if this is something that, Nnamdi puts out, okay, if 40% of ETH holders agree with him, then this will go through. Based off the liquidity available on a blockchain, that may change. It's on top. It takes care of itself. So it's always making sure there's a cushion to make sure the blockchain doesn't get crashed. So the thing is, if you think about all the DeFi hacks, right, and all the hacks you hear about crypto, the issue is that these bridges, right, they're like code they're a smart contract that hasn't really been tested and proven. And most of the time, they're not autonomous in the fashion in which it creates a liquidity event in case something goes wrong with it. Therefore, they can exploit and hack and take money out of blockchain. So that autonomous organization keeps things afloat for every proposal and every smart contract.
Okay. So go ahead, man.
No, I'm just saying. So, but in reference of like a DAO, it's like the DAO itself, because it's autonomous, but people are behind it. Let's say like the crypto holders, like main with the proposal aspect, you can now vote to add additional functionality to the DAO or make certain decisions, right?
You can definitely propose to make changes to the DAO. Is 100%. Yes, sir.
And so that's part of the proposal process. So even though this entity is autonomous and it's running, it's doing what it's supposed to do, what it was set out to do. But like anything, you may start as a user, right? That actually has some ownership aspects that has a stake in it. You can say, you know what? This needs improvement. So I'm going to now put out a proposal so we can enhance it. But the whole idea is after that work is done, it's still automatically just doing stuff now. And that's the whole aspect of the of the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And what's the state that adopted this? I talked about it in my podcast like last year. I don't know if it's not.
So I
Oh,
think it was
man.
Florida. I think
No,
Florida
not
was the one
Florida.
that
It's
jumped off.
another one of these spots in like the middle America.
Or you can pay your rent
Utah?
with it.
Maybe it
Utah?
was. Maybe it was,
You talking about the
man.
one that allows you to pay your rent with crypto? You talking about that one?
No,
Or is
the
it different?
ones that's big on DAO, like they made DAO an official.
Oh, it's not Iowa, is it?
Yes, I think it
I
may be.
think it was Iowa. They have but they got shut down, bro. I'm pretty sure
Really?
because people kept using. I think they registered their corporations and then they could register a DAO on their corporation using that state, using the address in that state, and they started shutting down on it.
Yeah,
I
I
want to
know I
say.
talked about it.
I remember this is months ago though, man. Damn, I remember that happening.
Well, I know somewhere was creating like a whole decentralized, like they had bought land and everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's I don't want to give I don't like spitting the wrong information. This is be taped. But
So they can Google it.
yeah, just
That's what-
Google it. Like it was like a lot of law, 'cause they were being real progressive with DAOs, and it was like the first state to really fully adopt it and make it part of their law. Man, you put up a computer. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's Iowa or
Yeah,
but it was like a whole
it was
thing.
one of those states.
I definitely talked about it. I talked about it. It was like a big deal back then.
One of my boys, man, one of the co-founders of my company was talking about doing it too, and then we saw the news that they started cracking down on it. But this was, matter of fact, it was November, December last year. Either way, yeah, I can't remember the state. It's
Wyoming
There we
enacted
go.
the nation's first law to mention DAOs. Wyoming Decentralized Autonomous Organization Supplement, which was subsequently amended in March of this year. It was Wyoming.
Okay.
Yeah. They permit they permit decentralized autonomous organizations to incorporate and obtain legal status as a limited liability company under Wyoming's Limited Liability Company Act. That was the thing, because that's like, and that's huge if you think about it, right? Because we just talked about this autonomous organization, but now in Wyoming, it's recognized as a legal entity. So understand the power of that, right? You got this corporation, it's just moving. It's moving. It has a bunch of holders, like Manny said, right? That have stake in it.
A lot of
and
money, right?
It's just automatically doing whatever it does, depending on your use case. You want to now improve it, boom, put a proposal out. If the members vote, say it's okay, it gets coded, gets paid, done. But the concept of that, and I think it's important we really think about concepts, especially the approach you're coming from as a people. Understand concepts. I wouldn't even say, you can learn, like get deep into technology. Once you understand concepts, then you can start saying, well, if they did this, I have this use case, right? I have this problem to solve. Does it fit with my scenario? And that's how you really start going on like the creative side to build these, as you mentioned earlier, these billion-dollar companies and stuff. They were all built by trying to solve some problem and leveraging, the necessary tools that were out there to solve it. And then they got adoption.
So I think that was the origin of my use case with the bank and in the conversation we were having was graduating to a space like that. So as we begin to wind down, I guess we talked about blockchain, Web3. We got into its use for crypto, smart contracts. We talked about DAOs. We briefly touched on NFTs as they relate to the blockchain. I don't want to delve all the way into NFTs. They're non-fungible tokens. I think most people kind of know what an NFT is at this point in time. But I do want to ask both of you guys, just from one, I guess, back up, why is this important?
Why is what exactly?
So,
just all of it. Blockchain, right. Web3, digital currency, cryptocurrency. Why is this an important thing to know? If I'm just someone who has a couple dollars in the bank, couple more dollars in my mattress. I'm going about my life. You know what I mean? Why do I gotta, even if I'm a little more sophisticated, I might have some money in the market. I might have a couple stocks. Why does any of this matter to me? Why can't I just go about doing what I do and not worry about it? Do I even need to worry about it?
I'll let Manny go first, and then I'll come back. I know Manny's a lot more passionate about it, like in terms of he's really like, he has some real project going on. So I'll let Manny go in and I'll come in.
Nah, so basically, right, we're talking about just the perfect time and point in time to talk about the financial system, right? We're looking at the different disparities and different communities and classism to the point at which people now have starting to recognize that the traditional finance system, traditional society is not really working, right? It's not. And the thing is, we've seen all these signs over time of different traditional systems eroding in front of us, right? Now, the biggest thing I would say is we're looking at a reset, right? They said a lot during the first couple months of the pandemic. We need a financial reset. It's going to be a reset, right? The Fed injecting all that money and then taking it out has made people look at the dollar and say, "Dang, man, now I got to pay $7 to get a loaf of bread. What is money for real?" And then when I leave it in my savings account, I get 0.01% for the year, right? What else, to me, I feel like as an investor, people that I just started, I'm not very years in investing. I just started myself. This GameStop, craze, that came at the perfect time. People were starting to realize they can make money through investing. So I feel like if you're wise and you take a look at investment history, the internet boom in the 90s that led up to the bust in the 2000s, right? That made a lot of millionaires. They treated crypto just like they were treating the internet and technology stocks back then. I feel like this is a chance for anybody that wants to learn about what happened in history before and the value of being a long-term investor and can probably change their legacy. So
you're talking about bridging the economic divide.
Hopefully.
Okay. Why is it important? What happens is this, right? I just think as a people, we're always late to things. And I'm not saying necessarily crypto's the answer. I have a belief in, if you're looking at crypto from a sense of finance, I think and having an asset, I think diversification is extremely important. So, I'm a fan, for instance, I like real estate. I have I love crypto when it's going up. I hate crypto when it's going down. So I think stocks are great. Stocks are great. The market, the market's good. You look at your portfolio, but these are just different ways to invest. You have people in certain countries that their local currency is so volatile where you're taking barrels of whatever that currency is to literally buy a loaf of bread, right? So some people said, okay, you know what? I'm going to store my money in crypto. And it worked out for some people, right? Maybe they invested in Bitcoin early. Maybe they did that. For some other countries, they invested in something called, they did not invested, but they say, I'm going to trade my currency in for a stable coin called Terra. All of a sudden, Terra crashes. It's just completely annihilates. They lost out. So it's not a scenario where everybody wins. I just think why it's important is because it is various use cases that can be leveraged from it, right? You definitely see crazy volatility in the future. We know that, this is not even speculation, right? Who knows where Bitcoin's going to be in the future, Ethereum, but we do know governments are going to start moving toward digital currency. You see it happening globally. There's the centralized bank, help me out, Manny, CBDC, centralized bank digital currency.
Yep.
Most countries are looking into a way how to make that digital, because it's just for remittances and transfers, it's just cheaper. It makes sense. Now, that's not saying that, no one's saying they're going to adopt Bitcoin. Like El Salvador, for instance, adopted Bitcoin in terms of using that as nationally. So some countries are saying that. Some countries are like, you know what? But most are saying, how do we now create our own centralized centralized bank digital currency? So, like anything, right? The world is moving at even a more rapid pace. So I think growing up, the biggest disservice to our community is that we are not taught finance. And I'm not talking about finance from a collegiate perspective where you're going, no, basic finances, basic checks and balances. Like we didn't learn banking from a class. Nobody said, okay, this is how to manage banking. This is what happened. No, you learned it outside, but but you still have to take random classes, but just life classes. No one, me. So off the record, right? David and I are business partners. We've been investing in real estate since 2000.
It's on the record, but yeah.
Yeah, but we've been investing in real estate. Right after, I think what happened was we graduated college, and then the next year or so, we both bought our first homes, right? And then afterwards, we said, you know what? Let's go get some more spots. So just that. But who taught us that? We just two cats from Brooklyn who just said we're in another city. We see what happened in Brooklyn in terms of how that real estate popped off. These things are cheap. Maybe we should cop, but we never had formalized training in that. I mean, we lost a hell of a lot of money, obviously, but not obviously, but we did, right? Because we lacked formalized training. So I know I'm going on, but I'm landing.
No. Talk,
No,
bro.
go ahead.
Talk.
No, you do
Yeah,
it.
So,
talk.
Yeah,
so
I'm on you.
the reason why it's important is because why not learn this stuff? You should learn about I think we should learn about every single asset class. You should learn about real estate. You should learn about how currency works, if possible. You should learn about crypto, and not only from a currency perspective, but a use case perspective. Because you never know where you might have a problem. What? Like boom. I yesterday. So some of my podcasts, I talk about the news and stuff like that. One of the things was music licensing on the crypto. Like there's a company called Royal, right? And Nas did some business with them, and he put out an NFT, and his song Rare. I like Rare. You can, if you bought that NFT, you can get on. Like it's like all these things are happening, and we're Johnny come late. We just don't know. And like what did Pun say? His goal was to know a lot while others know only a little. Like so it's just like, why is this? I just think it's this hesitation for us to just get like the outer layer. Like it's like after it's been done, people came in and said it's almost like we're hungry, right? And we have to constantly wait for someone to go cook some food, as opposed to, I'm gonna go in the kitchen. I see the raw ingredients. I'm gonna go cook that myself. I'm not ready for that. I'm gonna wait. What are we waiting for? Like, no, I don't know too much about raw meat. All right, so why not just learn it? Nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna wait till the chef comes in and cooks it, and I'm gonna buy it retail. That's how I look at all this stuff. So that's my soapbox, man.
No, that's excellent. That's excellent. And you know what I mean? That's the kind of yeah, you know what I mean? That's exactly that's why I brought you guys on here. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's one thing that a lot of the conversations are around avatars and like Nike is getting into the space now. And so I'm gonna have this avatar in the metaverse, and he's gonna have Jordans on, and you know what I mean? He's gonna have an Amiri sweatshirt on, and like I'm gonna be in the metaverse fresh to death with all of these.
They already got Nikes in the metaverse.
That's what I'm saying. Nike already registered, so I'm doing all, and so it's just gonna be an extension of my consumer self in the real world inside of the metaverse, and I'm just trying to give some education around like avoiding that, because that, like you said, like we keep giving the powers that be the power to feed us, which then gives them the power to starve us. And so, if it's if it's important for us to know about this. And some people I know are from the state of mind that eventually it's going to replace the dollar and the dollar won't even exist. And I don't know that you guys are there. It doesn't strike me that you're there.
Nah.
But the point is, it's serious enough to do the education and to learn about what this is, both from a investment standpoint, and if I'm hearing you, Nnamdi, from a standpoint of learning how to earn it as well. So not just buying, but how can we earn it, or how can we get inside the technology or the products that produce it in some sort of way, shape, or form, as opposed to just kind of being late adapters and being on the back end of the whole thing has been created, and now I'm engaging in retail.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you. Like right now, I don't personally have, like, Manny has an actual blockchain project. That's not what I have currently going on in my situation. But I would say to the audience, right? And Manny, hop in if you disagree. Technology labor globally has become more ubiquitous, meaning you have, like, the 90s to build something was a thing. Like, you had to get, like, get people hands-on physically at your spot in your garage and you have to get your own servers. You have to really, like, it. And that's why to raise and to really come up with a startup in the 90s took a lot of resources. Due to economies of scale and over time, if we had an idea, right, but we didn't understand exactly how to build that idea, we can leverage global resources. We can leverage cloud technology. When I say cloud technology, it's just a difference between you, because everything has to live somewhere. Like, you live in an apartment, your application has to live somewhere, right? You don't have to buy that server and put it in your house. You can go rent it from Amazon or Azure or Microsoft or whatever. So that brings down your cost. You don't have to go hire Manny physically to come to your building to know. You can go get a dev team somewhere else that they're, right now, wherever I see how long, hopefully it'll last a while, but let's say the dollar's high, you could get something for cheap and you can build this stuff, right? You obviously might want to hire a consultant to help guide you through it. If you're not familiar, you don't get jerked. But all I'm saying now is, if you understand the general idea, right, and then you have an actual. Here's what happens. You know what the people like me and Manny don't have, that someone listening to this may have? The actual physical. I've been doing this for the last 2, 3 years, 4 years, and I have this problem in this scenario. I don't care if you have a problem in the beauty shop, if you're a salon owner, you're a barber, you're a whatever it is. I'm in the hood, and I've been doing this, dealing with these people, and this is a problem, right? I don't have that expertise. I need to hear you. Like, nah, you could go like, you know what? If I had this, I could flip it this way. I don't know that. And no one on our end knows that. You know that. That's your that's your crown jewel. Now you're saying to us, based on this scenario, right? Here's what I want to build. And we could go, oh, you know what? No, that makes sense. But what I'm saying is, but you have to, in order to have the conversation, you have a general idea of, I understand this technology, high level. I understand this. If I wanted to do this, and when you're talking to a person like me and Manny, you're like, if I wanted to do this, how would that work? Like, can we connect the blockchain? What's a DAO? I heard about the decentralized organization. How would that work here? Then we go like, oh, that's interesting. But then you have the use case. And what happened is, in our community, there's a lot of use cases that are right now being done manually, hand to hand, manually, tons of use cases. And when, you said earlier, the powers that be or whoever, what they want, they're like, oh, word? That's popping? Huh? Tell me more about that. Oh, really? That's what you guys want? Okay. Thank you. And then they say, okay, now I'm going to take that. I'm going to go in the kitchen, whip it up. Here, use it that way. You're like, you know what? It's cool, but it's not perfect, but I'll take it. Oh, no, give us your feedback. We'll make it perfect for you. And more of your people going to use it. Oh, that's dope. All right, cool. Then all of a sudden, they're $1 billion company. That's the game, bro.
Word. Word. So, I mean, yeah, it sounds like use your practical, use your everyday business, life in general, whatever you got going on, find problems and then find solutions to
That's
those
all technology
problems.
is. That's
Yeah,
it.
100 that you and your
That's it.
peoples are having. That's that's your crown jewel. And
That's all. That's all technology is. You know,
well, man,
if you make it, you get paid off of it.
Well, that's the importance of things like this. You understand? Because there's people now who know that you guys can be leveraged for something. Whereas, you know what I mean? Before, we may think of these things as like, yeah, I don't fool with none of that stuff, man. That's like way over my head. And there's nobody who might know how to lace his Timbs properly, who knows about this as well, right? Like we don't connect those worlds enough. We think like, okay, I have no access to anyone who could even think like that. Where it's like, no, there's brothers that come from the same environments that we all come from, who are seasoned in this world, who understand this world, who, if they were connected to the folks who had a problem, like you said, like I know of a problem that can be solved leveraging this technology. I don't know anything about the technology enough to know that I can leverage it. And you may not know anything about this practical use case that, and if we can connect these things together, then we can make, things happen. So the education, because I was going to say, what's step one if I wanted to learn about these things? But what I want to do is pivot from that and say, both of you brothers have shows. Nnamdi, you have the tech behind Fintech. My brother has Keep It Crypto. Talk to me about these programs, what is generally discussed in these programs, and how my audience can and should take advantage of your programs to just learn more about this entire world.
You want to go first, Manny, or you want me to go first?
No, go ahead, kick it.
So the Tech Behind Fintech, you can visit us at the techbehindfintech.com. Real straightforward. The techbehindfintech.com. And I like to say our show is about the technology that powers the money. I mean, you have a lot of shows on finance, a lot of shows on, our goal of the show is what is the technology and who are the people behind that, behind the money, exactly. So we just did our 83rd episode, and on weeks where we don't have guests, I talk about the current news of that week. What's going on, like, to relate it to our conversation. Yesterday, I brought up the conversation about music. Like, it was a good article on music licensing on the blockchain and what Nas did with Royal and how he had the NFT with Rare. And I might talk about some security stuff too, because my background's mainly in security. And from various things, from actual like fintech companies, some of the things they're going through is a breach, to things around the blockchain industry and how a company like Celsius is basically locked withdrawals and they just laid off 150 people, and Voyager just filed for bankruptcy because of a three arrow this hedge fund owes them $650 million. So I talk about things like that. You might be like, the hell is all that? Which is fine, right? But it's just the information is out there, and I might say, this is how I break it down and my spin on it. This is what's going on. Now, even if I'm a firm believer now, it's like some information gets planted in your subconscious. So as I'm talking about this thing, now you hear it somewhere else, it might be a little bit more familiar to you. On other weeks, I have guests, like I had Manny on, and we talked about blockchain and just went in. So I look at different topics around financial technology and finance, and I bring interesting guests on. We chop it up, or other weeks I'm solo and I talk about the news. And like I said, every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we stream live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And then our platform that we use doesn't integrate with Instagram. So on the side, I have an Instagram, my camera going, my phone doing an Instagram live, just to get, but you can't. So we post like screenshots and slides. You can't see it on Instagram. So you just have to go to the Tech Behind Fintech, our website, and you'll see it live there. So thanks for the plug, bro.
Of course.
Yeah, man. So I guess the show Keep It Crypto focuses on having a dialogue that are based around current crypto events that tie back into learning one-on-one fundamentals. Right. So we always try to have this is why this is important. Here's the article. And then normally we do have a main topic. So the main topic is normally, like I said, it's something that makes you understand, or at least we try to make sure that our audience has a better idea of what takes place in the crypto space and how it's important, how to leverage it and stuff like that. So the perspective of the show is kind of interesting because we have my man Rashid. He has been an investor for probably the longest out of everybody that's down with the crew. He has a lot of experience with regular investing and multi, like he's made money. You know what I'm saying? But then we have a man Omari who by trade is a business analyst. He's a software developer and he's also an investor in other ways. And he has the economics degree, so he has a whole different perspective as far as macro and as far as the technology behind blockchain. Then we have Sine. Sine is a traditional investor in a lot of ways, messing with the regular markets, but she also messes with crypto too. But she's done stuff like traders, and she big on technical analysis and stuff like that. And me, I'm just more of a security dude, and I'm a novice investor. Right, I'm the youngest investor on my team, and but I've taken it more. I guess I just dove right in when I got in, and now I just try to start stimulating conversations amongst us. And then we always end up with topics to talk about it. So that's Keep It Crypto. We're on all streaming platforms. Keep It Crypto to spell all regular words, nothing crazy. And we're Keep It Crypto Pod on IG. And we got a couple things coming, but right now that's where you can find us.
Talk about Mtllsm too, man. We didn't get into
Mtllsm. Mtllsm is a corporation, is a company, but it's also a software, right? So the software is going to have two main functions. One function is going to be the investor platform, and then the other is going to be a research platform. They're going to look the same in a way, but investors and researchers will have different features based off of whatever they choose to use. So basically, if you're not familiar with, and maybe you guys are, the Bloomberg terminal, right? When investors or traders want to get real-time news, they want to see what's going on in the markets. They want to see, set signals for certain prices on certain, commodities or equities. There's a lot of plugins and a lot of data feeds in there. So we want to create that for crypto, right? So not only can you log in and do research and keep up to date on all your portfolio, set up alerts on what you are interested in investing in crypto, you can also delve into new projects. We're looking at having forums and ways to interact in the community on the app as well. And we have a few developers working on that. We are looking to do beta by end of the year. And Mtllsm.io. That's MTLLSIM.io. You can sign up. You'll be notified when it's time to test out the beta.
So you'll be able to purchase crypto on there as well.
So we will get to that point eventually. Right now, that's not our main focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said the research side and the other side was for the investor platform. That's what I was trying to. So what's the investor platform?
So an investor platform is when you can log in, like say, like CoinGecko, right? You set your own profile, your own portfolio. Then you can put in your buy targets, when you bought it, when at what price, right? And really track your portfolio, right?
Gotcha.
And as so it's a lot more to it, but in gist, that's what it is.
Gotcha. And you're an owner as well, Nnamdi. Talk about strategic generation, what you got going on.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. Strategic Generation, we're IT information technology solutions firm. We specialize in cybersecurity, assessments like SOC 2. We work mainly for fintech and insurance companies. And we also work with, securing your development pipeline. Like a lot of people, on that note, a lot of these applications are not secure because they're using, they have malicious code in their supply chain, their open source library. So just looking at your overall release process and securing it. And once again, knocking out assessments. If for certain fintech firms, you need, you don't need this, but it works to your benefit when you have like a SOC 2 compliant that essentially is an assessment done by an independent auditor. So we have an automated process that helps you achieve that goal. And we're working with insurance companies to set up the information security program. So that's what strategic generation does in a nutshell.
All right, word. So I mean, I'm gonna grab some last thoughts just on the conversation. Any things you want to impart on the audience? But I wanted to say, from a personal note, man, super proud of you brothers, standing in this space, being independent, being entrepreneurs in this space. I know there's some, we all getting money from where we got to get our money from to pay our bills, but to see you guys making moves from an ownership standpoint is super dope, man. And you know what I mean? I think you're an example for our community to see that, it can be done from where we come from. So salute to both of you gentlemen. And whoever wants to give last words, final tips, instructions, anything you want to impart on the audience before we get up out of here.
Yeah, number one, man, thanks for having me, man. Salute to you. And, you know what I'm saying? Salute Nnamdi for putting us in contact. And I will say this, man, this is one thing that you have to understand. If you want to make a change in your life, right, no matter what it is, you got to stick to it. You got to take yourself serious. Whether it's investments, whether it's not talking to the girl no more, whether it's, not smoking no more, it doesn't matter what it is. You got to take yourself serious. F what everybody else saying, man, because to invest in crypto, to start your own business, to wear your pants the way somebody don't want you, you're going to hear mad shit. People going to keep telling you can't do something. And you're going to listen to them or you're not going to listen to them. But if you want to make a change, it's not what nobody else got to say. So I say if you want to invest in this shit and really change your mind on crypto or change your mind on, how you look when you leave the house, it's up to you. That's all I got to say about that, man. Peace.
To echo what Manny said, thank you very much for having me on the show, having us on the show. Appreciate you for bringing this conversation to fruition. Like, I think it's a good conversation to have. I think it could go in many different directions. I am big on our people building wealth. So we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about crypto. It's not the only ways to build wealth. In general, come up with a plan to build wealth. And it's not necessarily a lotto short-term get rich. No, it could be a long-term strategy.
No scratch offs? No scratch offs?
Look, I mean, if you believe in that, that's fine. I know, funny story, man. My best friend growing up, his peoples used to dedicate a portion of her check towards the lotto. And
I had a $10 scratch off budget every week back in the days, bro.
Listen, man,
for sure.
I don't want to knock anybody. Look, like I like what Jay said, man. Yeah, we all from the hood. Only difference we go back. So I see it. You know what I mean? Like I see it. I'm just saying, like, let's just get into a wealth conversation. And sometimes when we start talking about a wealth conversation, sacrifices have to be made. And so you might not have the latest Air Ones or the Jordans. I mean, I don't remember the last time I copped some kicks from Amazon for running that was like literally $30. It's like bootleg stuff that probably in high school I wouldn't be caught dead in. But look, I'm not necessarily where I want to be, but I'm a lot better than where I was. So I know I could afford certain things, but that doesn't mean I'm getting it, because it's just like, what are we doing right now? Like, we're talking about making really other companies wealthy off of our back. So let's build wealth. Let's be more financially sound. I mean, like sometimes when we rock in certain drip and look in certain ways, who are you really doing that for? You know what I mean? Like let's get back into our own self-esteem and what really matters, I'm gonna harp back on real estate. I mean, me and the craziest thing sometimes in certain areas you run into, you might see a house. I mean, I remember back in the days, you may see a house going for like 30, 40K. You run up in there, the owner's like, yo, don't tell the tenants how much it's going for. The tenants are paying like $500, $600 rent. And I'm sitting there,
paying the mortgage.
and I'm sitting back as a young kid thinking, wow, like if y'all just all pull y'all money together, y'all can buy it. Why am I here looking to invest in and keep you as tenants? So, and that's just, and you could take that example and apply it to so many other things. Like let's try to think, like, how do we move from being tenants to owners on different aspects of our life, and let's build wealth and think about long-term solutions to do that. And let's not sometimes waste our time, energy thinking about what the other person thinks of us in terms of because of what we have on, what jewels we have, what car we drive. None of that makes a difference in the grand scheme of things. If you can't bag shorty because you have game off jump, you need X and Y to bag her, son, you're off, my guy. You're off. I'm sorry. Like, I hate to tell you, you're off. You know what I mean? And so I don't even, and I'm not gonna get on my soapbox on that, because then I'm gonna start sounding like these internet cats who talk about men and white. I don't want to go in that direction. All I'm saying is, let's just really think about building wealth, not just short-term, quick hustle hits, foundational stuff that we could pass on to the next generation, and we can get, because look, recessions are coming, economy's crazy, and you just like having a diversified way to bring in revenue is just key. So that may take learning new stuff. So last thing, YouTube is a wonderful thing. I have problems in technology. I Google, and I'll watch a YouTube video. If you want to get deeper, I love this site called Udemy, Udemy, because you have people that are in certain fields making courses about finance, about crypto, about security. And you could just go on and say, you know what, I want to pay $20 for a course and I want to learn this stuff, because I can then maybe a way to leverage it. And there's various sites that do that, and there's various things. Last thing, for young brothers, young sisters, the technology field is a win. If you can, you might not even need to go to college in some cases. You might get certifications and get in, but get this, you might go, yeah, I don't have that much of an aptitude for it. Look, you can learn it, right? And then guess what happens? If you're in a space where you're getting paid hourly, like somewhere around minimum wage, and you could put yourself in a situation where now you can 10x that, guess what happens? If you can still live like you're making a little bit of minimum, take that other money, invest it, build your foundation, help your family get a come up. So I could, for Manny, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know for me also, technology changed my life, man. So
absolutely.
I know brothers that I helped in terms of just like with the mentorship, encouragement, and they'll come on and be like, yo, technology changed my life. And you have situations now where you're seeing people winning off of that. But my whole thing is now, let's say you went from making 30K to 100K. Can you live on 50K now? Take that other 50, change the situation, whether it's some stocks, whether real estate, you get, then you do that for a few years, long term, 10, 15 years out, 20 years out, you change the dynamics of the conversation in your life. That's it.
That's it, bro. I mean, because the next question was going to be any educational resources, but I think you gave it right there. I mean, YouTube University, Udemy, Google University. It may just start with what is an NFT.
No, and I'll say this one thing I will say, if you want to talk about selecting education, I'll say this. Just because you want to learn something and you find a resource that doesn't quite resonate with you doesn't mean that it's not for you. You might need a different resource. Feel free to go to a different website, go to a different YouTube channel. Go to somebody, go ask people
Find somebody who speaks in your voice.
If you feel that passionate, and that's what I'm saying, don't let nobody deter you. You still on that shit? Yeah, look, man. One channel might work one day, the next day it's not resonating. But guess what? If you want to learn that information, it's out there. Understand your learning style and find out who resonates with that, and then man, keep trucking.
Yeah, that's a fact. Appreciate you, brothers. This was a dope conversation. As I learn more, I definitely gotta bring you guys back. You know what I mean? To check
Absolutely.
in and have, you know what I mean, have more developed conversations. But I think this was a great start. Yep, this is Traum, Diggs, David Shanks, man. This was Major Journalism. Appreciate the brothers again. Stay tuned. Salute.